Of schools are now under investigation by the Department of Education, including UNO. The investigation is part of President Trump's push to end diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. At least 45 universities were flagged by the administration for taking part in the PhD project. The Education Department claims the project limits eligibility of programs based on race. Their investigation comes a month after the White House issued a warning to colleges to end their DEI programs or lose federal funding. President